Why Yu Menglong's death terrifies Xi Jinping. They say stars fall quietly. They say a man's life ends in shadow, one more body among many. But the death of Yu Menglong is not just another tragedy. It is a dangerous signal, one that shakes the throne itself. This is not speculation. This is a truth wrapped in whispers, a revelation that has leaked far beyond tabloids and fan forums. Because at the top of power, in rooms where secrets rule, no death should ever point upward. Yet this one does. The unsettling echo. When the interrogation leaks first dropped, shockwaves rippled across China's entertainment circles. But more quietly, the ripple reached Beijing's corridors. Lines that were never drawn before now tremble. Questions that were never asked begin to echo. Because Yu Menglong's final fight wasn't just against men, it was against a system that cannot tolerate a voice that pierces the veil. Xi Jinping, perched at the apex of power, governs a realm where control is absolute. Yet Menglong's case cracks that illusion. It shows forces above the studios, darker than contracts and cameras, forces that answer only to themselves. If the story of one actor can unravel contracts, reset timelines, expose conspiracies, then who else is vulnerable? The USB that rocks the empire. In the hidden files we discovered from Menglong's recovered USBs, coded payment flows were traced not just to producers and managers, but to state-linked conglomerates and shadow accounts tied to high-level state projects. Money once thought clean, names once thought untouchable, now appear in those files. That's the problem. Not that an actor died, but that his death, his hidden recordings, his leaked confessions connect us that lead far beyond the elite of showbiz, straight to the architecture of power. She cannot allow that. He cannot let it stand. The leaked audio that spoke of control. When the hidden audio snippets leaked, hold him down, erase everything, some said it was just crime. But others heard something else. A voice in the whisper. They built us, they control us. But he heard us. That means Yu Menglong was no naive pawn. He was listening to the game beneath the game. For Xi Jinping, whose legitimacy rests equally on narrative control and the illusion that dissent is unthinkable, that is a threat more dire than a stadium riot. Because this death, composed in the shadows, just wrote the most damning revelation. The operation of power is exposed. When regime is built on silence, one whisper becomes a spark. The director's silence and the palace anxiety. In a chapter long ignored by public eyes, the director of Menglong's final project disappeared. The film was cancelled. Tapes vanished. The master cut was locked away. In a regime that demands that culture mirror the state, a film that contains truth is poison. Rumors spread through Beijing's elite. The director had been summoned. Not for filmmaking, for lessons. Some said he was warned. Some said he was punished. If she allowed a film to survive that exposed his network, even by implication, he undermines the entire spectacle of infallibility. That is why his silence is not absence. It is deliberate. A wall rising behind which ambition trembles. A mother's cry that opens cracks. When Yu's mother wept publicly in court, her voice raw, accusing, something unexpected happened. Her cry cracked screens across the nation. In a society trained to bow, she shouted justice. In a world where grief is private, she made it public. That kind of emotional confrontation is dangerous in any country. But in China, where the grieving are controlled, the public mourn must obey the party line. She sees it, a mother refusing to kneel. He feels it, the outrage not going away. Because if a mother cannot be silenced, what voice can be? The shadow of the beige woman. The woman in beige, mysterious, elusive, seen in hospital corridors, car reflections, hidden meetings, is more than a pawn. She is a cipher. Those who track her name across email trails, hidden phone logs, red-sealed envelopes, find links that reach into institutions few dare name. She is not just part of the cast. She is part of the architecture. If she allows her to remain unexposed, the rod is not contained. If he tries to destroy her story, the scars will bleed inward. The great firewall, the silence, the fear. She rules a vast machine of censorship. The Great Firewall, self-censorship, internet takedowns, all designed so voices like Menglong's vanish before they spread. But even the firewall has holes. This case has exploited every crack. Fans use VPNs, mirror servers, international media. The narrative cannot be buried. And when information from China's heartland leaks outward, it becomes a reflection back on the regime. For Xi, every leak is a wound. Every revealed contract is a threat. Every mother's cry is an indictment. Why he fears the fall. What makes this death especially terrifying for Xi Jinping is not the actor's fame, it's the fall itself. The fall was supposed to be the end. A tragic accident. A cautionary spectacle. But now we know it was staged. That the body was manipulated. That the system had to fake space, time, narrative. When control is fabricated, the fall becomes a metaphor. If he can fake a fall, he can fake any narrative. The more that is exposed, the manipulated video, the padded files, the whispered leaks, the more unstable the regime looks.
She fears that.
The pressure from inside. Pressure is already mounting inside party circles. If the architecture of power is implicated even tangentially, she faces two dark paths. Purge those implicated publicly, a purge that looks like fear, or protect them, which looks like complicity. Neither path strengthens him. This is a death that cannot remain sanitized. A movement beyond entertainment. Today, Yu Menglong is more than an actor. He is a symbol of a voice that survived death. A signal that even in authoritarian air, truth carves a path. Fans chant not only justice for Menglong, but tell Xi we know. They draw his face on walls, project images onto official buildings, demand transparency. When the regime sees protests over one actor's death, it knows the equation is broken. Because if the people demand truth for him, they may demand truth for everything. Closing. The terrible mirror. Yu Menglong's death terrifies Xi Jinping not because of its brutality. That is expected in power. He fears it because of its exposure. A mirror held to the palace, glass cutting edges of lies, restraint, silence. When a single death reveals a network, unravels contracts, flushes secrets upward, the regime's foundation trembles. She fears that the next leak will not just be contracts or confessions, but names above him. This is why this death is not safe. It is a threat. And until he turns that mirror away, he lives in terror of the truth it might reflect. The panic behind the palace walls. The night the new file surfaced, Beijing didn't sleep. The capital breathed uneasily, as if the air itself carried secrets too heavy to hold. In a secure compound hidden behind walls of gray stone and black SUVs, Xi Jinping's inner circle gathered. No reporters. No recordings. Only whispers, fear, and the sound of documents being burned. The meeting no one was supposed to know about. The room was dim. Curtains drawn. Each official carried a file stamped top secret. At the center of the table, a printed transcript of Yu Menglong's manager's interrogation, sealed and signed. Xi's expression never changed. But those who have served him long enough recognized it, a look of calculation laced with quiet rage. How? He asked, voice low but sharp. Did an actor's death become a matter of state? No one answered. Because they all knew the truth. It wasn't just about an actor anymore. It was about what the actor uncovered before he died. The USBs. The offshore accounts. The hidden communication between cultural committees and media investment boards that led straight to companies owned by powerful families. The leak that crossed the firewall. The Chinese internet is usually quick to erase. Posts vanish within minutes, videos deleted before they reach 10,000 views. But this time, something broke the pattern. Someone, still unidentified, had uploaded the footage to foreign servers. Within hours, subtitles in English, Thai, and Korean spread across social media. Western outlets picked it up. It was too late. A single line from the interrogation burned into global memory. You think it was a film deal. It was never a film deal. It was a message. For the party, that sentence was a grenade. If Menglong had been silenced because he saw something, then who silenced him? And why became the question that could ripple through power like a fault line. The collapse of silence. In the following 48 hours, 3 top Cultural Bureau officials were reassigned. 2 disappeared completely. 1 was rumored to have been detained. Xi's advisors begged him to make a public statement, something calm, measured, dismissive. But he refused. To deny is to admit knowledge, he said. We will drown it instead. So the order was simple: flood the feeds with noise, new celebrity scandals, sports victories, and a patriotic film release. But the public wasn't fooled. For every new distraction, fans reposted old footage. For every deleted hashtag, 5 more re-emerged. The silent strategy was losing. Inside the Intelligence Bureau, down the chain, panic turned to obsession. Agents were ordered to locate the leak. The USBs were supposed to be destroyed, yet copies existed. They raided old studios, questioned editors, tracked IP addresses through VPNs. But what terrified them most wasn't the evidence itself. It was what they didn't find. Somewhere out there, another file existed. A final recording that had never surfaced. Yu Menglong made the week before he died. Rumors said he filmed himself confronting someone powerful, a sponsor, whose face could collapse reputations if revealed. The Bureau believed the clip was uploaded and scheduled to release automatically if certain keywords were deleted online. They were racing against an invisible clock. The hidden tape. Then came the moment no one expected. At 3:27 a.m., the encrypted file went live for 60 seconds on an underground network before vanishing again. Only a few dozen people saw it, enough to describe what was on screen. Yu Menglong, pale but composed, seated in a dim room. A hand enters the frame. A man's voice speaks. You were warned. Menglong replies softly. I wasn't acting. I was recording. The screen cuts to black. That single minute triggered what insiders now call the gray hour, a digital lockdown unlike anything before. Servers were shut down. Communication lines frozen. Security divisions deployed. Because if that tape resurfaced in full, no one, not even the party's top brass, could predict how much would crumble. The fear within the throne. By dawn, Xi's advisors presented him with 2 choices. Option A: publicly blame the entertainment industry, frame it as a corruption case gone wrong. Option B: seal every trace, purge anyone connected, and let the world forget. He chose option B. But fear lingers, even in silence. The more they erased, the more the story grew, because erasure itself became proof. Even generals whispered that the case was unlucky, that Menglong's death had brought an energy that unsettled the state. Feng shui masters were consulted. Priests quietly performed rites to calm the spirits of the media. A superstition born from guilt. The mother's return. 3 days later, Yu's mother appeared again. Not in court this time, but in front of cameras outside the Supreme Court building. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. If you are not guilty, why hide him? Why hide his truth? The clip went viral before officials could block it. International journalists reposted it with translations. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about an actor. It was about transparency in China's justice system. Xi's administration had wanted to drown the truth in silence, but the mother's tears had made it resurface as a wave. The international pressure. By the end of that week, embassies began asking questions. Foreign networks released documentaries titled The Star Who Knew Too Much. China's image as a controlled, stable powerhouse began to crack under the pressure of one story they couldn't erase. Behind closed doors, diplomats debated damage control. The Minister of Culture was ordered to cleanse the industry. But insiders said the real purpose wasn't cleansing, it was burying. The fracture of fear. Inside Zongnanhai, she walked through the hall lined with portraits of former leaders. Every frame reflected the same question. How much longer can the illusion hold? Because this time, censorship couldn't bury the ghost. Yu Menglong's name was now international, his death symbolic. Every attempt to silence him only amplified him. Even within the party, younger officials whispered, if truth can kill an actor, what could it do to us? That was the terror she couldn't contain. Not rebellion, not protest, but contagion, The idea that truth is stronger than fear. The ending they couldn't write. Today, China's official narrative remains quiet. The case file is sealed, the footage erased, the director exiled, the mother under surveillance. But the question that started this storm still burns across millions of screens. Why was one actor's death enough to shake the most powerful man in China? The answer, buried in those missing seconds of the video, is what keeps the regime awake at night. Because if the world ever sees that full recording, the truth won't just destroy careers. It could rewrite history itself.